welcome to the first of many Sabriel's guides. This is my first video. Please do not mind the light behind me. These videos are going to be posted weekly, and they're going to explain the different aspects of Sge Healing, Sage DPS, Sage Hybrid DPS, Scoundrel Healing, Scoundrel DPS, and Shadow Tanking. Now these are all based on my experiences and my need to perfect all my tunes. Now, please do not mind, this is going to be a rough video, and it's obviously not very good quality. I'm doing this off my iPhone. So right now, I am currently logging into my Sage, which everyone knows as Sabriel. Right now, I think I have her down as a Sage DPS, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to spec your trees to Sage Healing, how to build your bars, what your rotation should be, and what your gear focus should be, as well as, trying to find the perfect balance between your main stat and power and crit and all surge. So I should be able to answer all your guys' questions. Of course, like I said, this is my first video. It's going to be rough, and any questions that I may not answer, you are free to go ahead and ask them. So let's go ahead and get started. Now throughout my video, I'm going to be flipping the camera back and forth between me and my computer. Like I said, I don't really know that much about making videos, so this is all done on my iPhone. So please excuse any up close and personal shots you may get of my face and my bedroom. I also, as you guys know, I am pregnant, so I also have a Sprite here that I'll be sipping on periodically while I do this. And nobody likes dry mouth, so. Okay, let's go ahead and swap it over to computer screen. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead, and like I said, this is going to be blurry, and go ahead and respec skills. Now, what you should be focusing on, obviously, is going to be the Seer tree, but you're also going to have a couple in telekinetics and a couple in balance. So what you want to go ahead and do is go ahead and get your kind of obvious ones. All these are going to be checked. So you're going to go ahead and have 2, 3, 2. On the next line up, it's going to be 1, 1, 2, 0. And on the next line, 1, 2, 2, 2. Next one is going to be 1, 2, and 0. Now this one, there are other things in the tree that I prefer to put this extra point in. At the end of it, you will have 1 point left over, and I'll go ahead and show you what to do with that one. So on this one, we're going to go ahead and forget Confound and go through Healing Trance, Life Ward, and Serenity all the way through. On the following one, obviously all the way through, and finish up with your Salvation. Now the ones that you should not have points in, just to double check, you should not have Master Speed, you should not have Confound, you should not have Egress, and you should not have Humility, and we should only have one in Pain Bearer. That is just to help your, if you're in an ops group, your partner healer. Okay, now over in telekinetics, it's very important that you go ahead and get all of mental longevity, inner strength, and telekinetic defense. So you're going to have 0, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0, 2. Now, on balance, these are your extra points. Obviously, you're going to want Will of the Jedi. So all of these are your required ones. Now, you are going to have one extra point. Me, personally, I prefer to put it in Jedi Resistance because we are sages and we are obviously squishy. So one bonus of being spec'd DPS starting off this video is that you can obviously see my bars are a little messy. Now, I'm going to have to look over my phone here. I am an idiot when it comes to computer things. Obviously, you guys know this is my first MMO, so I like to keep things simple. What I do is I always go Rejuvenate, Healing Trance, we'll put Benevolence there, but Deliverance, then Benevolence, then Salvation. And I like to keep my Force Mend right here and my Revival, as well as my Pool. So everything is pretty much right here. Now, as you guys know, I use a Nostromo. That is this bad boy. My Nostromo, literally, it's tied up with these. So you see I have 1 through 5 here. On my Nostromo, it is literally 1 through 5, this being my tab target, and I don't have a friendly tab target set up yet because I'm lazy and I have yet to do that. So, go ahead and we're going to swap over front facing so I can go ahead and talk to you guys a little bit about the reasons why I had you guys spec the way I did and set up my bars this way. Alright, hello again. Okay, so this is something that I'd rather not hold the camera for because you'd just be staring at my computer screen and that's kind of boring. So, alright, the reason I have everything spec the way it is, this was something that I found on Noxic and I obviously perfected. Now, Noxic did not have me put that extra point in Will of the Jedi, it had me put it in Egress. Now, the reason why I find that Will of the Jedi is far more beneficial than Egress is because most of the time, when you're in an ops, you're not really going to need Egress. I mean, nothing's really going to stun you unless it's, you know, some kind of stun that you absolutely have to use your stun break for. And so, in an ops group, what happens most of the time? Sometimes the tanks lose aggro. And what happens when they lose aggro? The healers get their asses handed to them. So one of the benefits of having that extra point there is that we have a little bit extra survivability, which is awesome. Any survivability you can get as a Sage is going to be great. Now, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is your rotation. Rotation is key. I don't care how much gear you have. If you're using a bad rotation, you will be a shit healer. Several times in several different flashpoints, ops groups, PvP, I've met healers that have horrible rotations, and the most important thing about a Sage healer is using rotation, and it's the most simple rotation ever. You guys, by this time, if you have a Sage, you should be a little bit more adapted to our abilities, and you should know the titles. So I'm going to go ahead and go step by step on what your rotation should be here, and then I will show you on the computer. Okay, number 1, Force Armor. Obviously, you need to keep everyone bubbled, but, you know, whenever somebody gives you advice and they say, just keep the tank bubbled and you'll be fine, that's bullshit. You have to know when to Force Armor. Obviously, it uses force. It uses force to put that on everybody, and you can't constantly keep a Force Armor on every single person in the raid group. It's just not viable. So the best thing to do is, when you're going through, you have to have a healer's intuition. And a healer's intuition, that's what I call being able to foresee damage before it's done. So if you have somebody who is at 55% health, but they're DPS, and you have a tank at 35% health, or excuse me, 75% health, you need to heal that tank first, especially if he has aggro. Now, if the DPS still has aggro, clearly you're going to want to go to him. It's all about situational awareness and being able to read your ops frames. Now, Force Armor comes in because it gives you the opportunity to pause a little bit of the damage on one player while you're healing another. So if you have the opportunity, obviously throw them both with Force Armor, and then you will want to decide at that point who you're going to heal first. That is important. If your tank has aggro, you need to heal him first, regardless of what his health is at, because he's the one that's constantly taking those hits. If a DPS has aggro, but it's only short-lived, he can wait a few seconds. So what you're going to want to do, obviously, is Force Armor. Stop a little bit of that damage and create a pause to where you guys can get your heals off. Now, when you're doing your heals, it is important to always use Rejuvenate. I mean that. It is your quick little boom heal, and it heals periodically. Now, there's 2 uses for this. Now, Rejuvenate would be the beginning of your rotation, but if you are a pre-healer like me, and you like to go ahead and prevent damage from being done, or heal as damage is being done, I like to start off, usually a fight, you would Force Armor a tank. I don't just do that. I like to shoot them a Rejuvenate, because Rejuvenate increases their armor rating. So the damage, it actually helps their defenses and lowers the amount of damage they will be taking. Yeah, smart thinking, right? Okay, number 2. When you go ahead and use Rejuvenate, it gives you a buff. That is something you should probably know by now. But if you don't, that's fine. Now, this little buff will show up on your bar, and I will show that to you later. But it is also very, very, very important that you use that buff properly. What it does is whatever heal you do next, it's going to crit that heal. So, if you use Benevolence, it's going to crit that. If you use Healing Trance, it's going to crit that. If you use Deliverance, it's going to crit that. So you ask,
what do I use? Well, the best one to use and the one to get your most oomph out of is going to be your healing trance. The reason is because it automatically crits that. So you're doing a lot of healing in a short amount of time. But you say, well, Deliverance does a lot of healing too. Yes, but Deliverance also needs to be channeled. If somebody is taking a lot of damage at once, you're going to want to go ahead and get a quick heal out, not a channeled one. Sometimes in 2.9 seconds, your tank is going to die. Your DPS is going to die. It happens, especially if a DPS has aggro. Okay, let me take a drink. Okay, so what should you do with your Deliverance? Well, I'll tell you. After you use your healing trance, your rejuvenate will probably be back up. However, your healing trance has a cooldown. So what you're going to do then, if somebody still needs heals, you can do another rejuvenate. And with that rejuvenate, with that buff, you can use the Deliverance. But what if my rejuvenate's not on cooldown, you ask? Well, a Deliverance should be able to, you can still pop out of Deliverance, it'll just do just as much, and then on your next round you can go ahead and make that up. Deliverance is great because it's got a quick cooldown. What you should never ever do, never ever use your Benevolence with that buff. Ever. If I ever catch you doing that, I will kick you in the shin. The reason being is Benevolence is a very dangerous heal. It uses a lot of force with not that much oomph. It's not a big heal. It is mainly for those emergency times. The oh shit, I need to fucking heal you in like half a second or you're going to die kind of heals. The only time you should be using Benevolence is an absolute emergency, and it should be used along with Force Armor. You should not rely solely on Benevolence. If you can get a healing trance out there in the same time that you can get 2 Benevolences, please use healing trance. It does a lot more healing. 1 tick of your healing trance probably heals more than your Benevolence does. So, and it uses a lot less force. So keep that in mind. Now, another important thing that everyone needs to learn is how to use their salvation. And not just when to use it, but where. Position is everything. You want to put it underneath where everyone's fighting. And you want to put it down every time it's on cooldown. I don't care if the fight is starting. I don't care if nobody's taking damage. You pop that shit. You put it down, and you'll go ahead and get your preemptive heals on. And those are very, very important. As a Sage Healer, you will start loving those preemptive heals. The whole thing about Sage Healing is obviously going to be knowing when to heal, knowing when to use your force, and of course, force management. So what do you do after you had this whole fucking meltdown and you had to pop out all these heals? What do you do now? Well, what you should be doing is that salvation you just popped, excuse me, you need to stand in that shit. You need to stand in there and you need to cut yourself and cut and cut and cut. And what you do is you cut, and then pop your force med. So you're getting the periodic benefit, the heals, excuse me, the benefit of your periodic heals from your salvation, as well as the giant fucking heal that is the force med. Those are very important, and anytime that you can sap, you want to sap if you can afford it, because you don't want to be in another meltdown situation with only a few little drops of force left. That is the big no-no, and that is the biggest thing with Sage Healers. Anytime you can get a couple saps in, AFK, you want to go ahead and do that. So, now what I'm going to do is, now that I've told you what to do, I'm going to show you what to do. So give me a moment while I go ahead and swap you guys over.
Okay, welcome back. Alright, so while I was going ahead and swapping over, one of our guildies, freaking Aldrich, decided he wanted to sneak up on me. And I apologize, guys, for how blurry my fucking screen is. Maybe... There we go, now I can get it to focus. And for shaky, as shaky as my hand might be, I'm not very good at dexterity, and I don't really have the kind of stamina to be able to hold my phone up for long. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and use Aldrich as a dummy. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pop a Force Armor on him. Obviously, we all know Force Armor prevents anybody from taking damage. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop my Rejuvenate. Yay, rejuvenate. As you can see here, this is the buff. It looks like a hand holding a cube. Now, I'm gonna have to pop it again because I talk too much. So, Force Armor, and then rejuvenate. And then we're going to do our lovely healing trance. Oh, we like healing trance. Look at that. 3180. That is beautiful. Okay, so Aldrich, we'll pretend he is still dying, and my buttons aren't working. Aldrich's still dying, so we are going to go ahead and do a deliverance, which hopefully I'll get a nice crit. Yep, 9k. Beautiful. And I accidentally pressed healing trance. But this is the kind of rotation that you want to do. You know, rejuvenate. Sometimes you can pop in a little force wave there because apparently I have that as one of my macros. But yeah, so as you can tell, my quick bars are obviously set up specifically to the kind of rotation. So it's very, very, very plain and simple. Now, while I have you here, we're going to go ahead and look at our gear. Yay, gear. As you guys know, there is new gear out. I have not gotten any of it yet because I am lame and have been ignoring my Sage. So, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what I look for in a Sge Healer. Now, obviously big on stims. You should always have a prototype nano-infused resolve stim. If you are in guild and you would like some of these, please see Merc or Mass Immune. I'm sure if you talk nicely to them, they will be more than happy to provide a shit ton of those for you. Now, I'm going to try to keep you right here because I have a conversation going on that you guys don't need to see, but what I'm going to show you is the importance of power. That is my favorite thing to stack. Now, power should be one of your primary stats. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to stack willpower, obviously, first and foremost. But willpower is pretty easy to get. You get it in all your gear as a Sage. And those look blue, but I assure you those are purple because I don't go around with blue gear. But what I do, I prefer full augments with your main stats. So that is going to be willpower. Now, that is going to vary if you're doing PvP. I would recommend stacking power augments, which would be overkill augment 28. But this is PvE. In PvE, we stack willpower. Along with willpower, as your first and foremost stat, you're going to stack power. Now, why should I stack power, you say? Because every single heal you do, power increases that heal. It increases your base heals. As you can see, my bonus healing is over 1,000, which is awesome and very, very important. Now, some sages ask me about accuracy, and let me just tell you right now, you do not need this shit at all. No accuracy. Blah. We don't need that. What about crit? Well, this is where I'm still not convinced. I don't believe we need crit ever. I believe as a Sge Healer, you crit enough. I mean, obviously, my crit chance is at 26, and you can see that I only have 89 crit rating in my gear. That means only one mod, excuse me, one mod and one enhancement has crit in it. And the only reason that's there is because I have not swapped it out for anything with power. So you do not have to stack crit. You will still get a benefit solely from your willpower for your crit, as well as skills and buffs. So you can ignore crit basically altogether. The next important thing though, so far we have willpower, and then we have our power, and then you're going to want to look at Surge. Now, Surge is kind of finicky. Mine is at 467 right now, only because I have yet, as I said, to min-max my gear completely. Which you probably, if you're a critic, you'd say, well, you should probably min-max your gear before you made this video. Well, too fucking bad. I am just getting into the whole new scene. As I said, I've been ignoring my Sage for a little bit, so, but I say the cap for your Surge should be 400. I have 467, so shame on me. I'm bad right now. I will fix that. But what I do is once I get my Surge up to 400, then I focus Alacrity, because Alacrity can come with power and it's awesome to have. What Alacrity does is it goes ahead and lowers the global cooldown of all your heals and your regular cooldowns of your heals. And that is very beneficial to a healer, so we can pump out quicker, stronger heals. So, your focus and stats should be number 1, willpower. Number 2, power. Number 3, surge to 400, and everything after that will be alacrity and power. You do want to augment your gear with full augmentation kit MK9s. I can provide those with my armor mech as well as my synth weaver, which it's very hard for synth weavers. So if you ever want to get any augment kits, all you do is provide me terradium and I will provide those for you. But all your augments for a PvE Sge Healer should be willpower 28s. I can make those as well. All I ask is for thermal regulators or the money to fund those. So that is what you look for gear. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you guys around and do my closing statement. And that'll finish up for us now. So just a few moments.
Hi! Okay, so closing statements. What you should have learned today. You should learn and know how to go ahead and put your skill points in your skill tree. What your rotation should be. What each of your heals does and what heals you should not use. Benevolence. And how to improvise. Just like I just did because I froze up. So what I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about now as my closing statement is I'm touching back on the whole healer's intuition. Now, I can tell you literally everything you need to know. It's not going to provide you with that healer's intuition. It's not going to show you how or when to use your heals. All it's going to do is tell you what to do in general. Now, part of being a healer is you need to be adaptable and you need to be fast thinking. Cleanses are super important. You need to cleanse. If you see anything stacking, try to cleanse it. If you can cleanse it, awesome. If you can't, well, you tried. That is one thing that a lot of healers do not do that I value in any healer. If I meet a healer that can cleanse and knows when to cleanse and at least tries to cleanse, that's a healer I love. And another thing too is you need to pay attention to the DPS too. Your job is not just to heal the tank. Your job is to heal that entire group, to keep everybody alive and ensure success. And if you're not doing that, you're a shitty healer. I'm sorry. Do not tell the DPS that is their job to use fucking cooldowns. It's not. It's your job to keep them up. Because sometimes accidents happen. You're never going to have a perfect tank. Not everybody can be mass, and not everybody can be low crawl. So when you have the shit tank, and the tank that drops aggro every now and then, make sure you're looking out for your DPS or you're going to lose them. DPS are important too because they're the thing killing the thing that's killing you and going to kill the raid group. So please pay attention to them. And also, do have high expectations for your tanks. I mean, if you are constantly being attacked, if they're dropping aggro, make sure to call them on it. And one thing too, do not expect a guard in any PvE environment. That is a no-no. If a tank guards you, tell them to guard a DPS, and that is a good thing, good habit to have on you healers, because yes, we like to think we're the shit, and we need to be saved, and we need to be held like a little fragile ball, but we don't. We can take care of ourselves. We have our force barrier, we have our force armor, we can take care of ourselves. DPS cannot take care of themselves. They have no way to heal themselves. That is your job. So, and they are more likely to pull because they're in the face of whatever they're attacking. So, make sure that your tank does not guard you, that it is guarding the DPS. If you are one of those healers that think you need to be guarded, get over yourself. That is worst habit to have, and you need to completely get over it, or you're going to have a very bad time running with our ops groups. And another thing too, as a healer, do not be afraid to take criticism. Yes, some people can be rude about it, but if I tell you, hey, your rotation sucks, don't take it personally, don't take it up the ass. Your rotation sucks. If it's not the rotation I showed you, if you're using anything different, it sucks. I'm sorry. This is the easiest rotation to remember, and it is the best for force management. Now, if you're not a force manager, I will tell you if you are running with the Grim Underground Network crew, as well as Tia will tell you, and just about any other Sge Healer. I taught my Sage Healers, you need to save your force. That is the source of your heals, and if you do not have force, when shit hits the fan, you are fired. So, anytime you get the opportunity, my number one piece of advice is to stand in your salvation and sap. Anytime you can. I mean, if people are taking damage, obviously, you cannot do it at that moment of time, but if you pop a salvation, just pop a salvation, as you should be doing every time it's on cooldown, stand in it and sap your health for a little bit. If you get down to about 85% and you don't have a force man, it's not a big deal. Pop a rejuvenate on yourself and a force armor, because your force armor with the spec we just gave you heals you for a little bit. Yeah, I'm awesome. What? Anyways, so that's really all I have. Next week I will be going ahead and starting with Scoundrel Healing. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and skip the Sage DPS for a few weeks in the future. So please tune in next week to Sab's Guides for Scoundrel Healing. Thanks, guys, and please be nice in the comments. This is my first video, so have a good night.